Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mike. You guys are working with me on Mike's Intellectual Corner. On today's episode, we are diving back into our Mongols series, and this is called Mongols Western Expansion Battle of Legnica and Mohi, 1241. Pretty sure I messed that all up, but as always, so we're just going to get right into it, so let's go ahead and go into this.
This video was sponsored by The Great Courses Plus. Go to thegreatcoursesplus.com today to start your free trial. Genghis Khan is dead. However, his sons and grandsons are now taking over his empire, and the spirit of conquest within the Mongols is still strong. What happened to the Rus princedoms, Bulgars, Kipchaks and others during the expedition of Ogedei and Subutai was just a precursor to the invasion of Batu Khan. What started with the fall of Kiev and the battles of Legnica and Mohi would then turn into a centuries-long nightmare for Eastern Europe.
Yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, they already have Khwarezm right there as a client state. They don't have, Khwarezm has no like leaders left because they killed them all. And then if I'm not mistaken, they don't have the Russian states as a client state yet, but they've already killed all of their princes and everything, like, you know what I'm saying? So if they wanted to, they could. Let's see it. Let's go ahead and see what's going on.
Genghis Khan passed away in 1229. And his son Ogedei became the Great Khan. He was a talented administrator who transformed the Mongols from a tributary to a tax-based empire and commissioned the construction of the capital, Karakoram. He developed the Yasa law, created a postal service, introduced paper currency, and created civil service exams open to everyone, while implementing a culture of religious tolerance. This colossal shift from nomadic to bureaucratic governance led to a period of prosperity called the Pax Mongolica. In the next few decades, Mongol conquests had three main directions: Central and Southern China, Central Asia, Iran, the Caucasus and the Middle East, and modern-day Russia and Eastern Europe.
So essentially, anywhere that has a people or civilization going on, because obviously medieval Siberia probably has like a population of like 10 people, you know what I'm saying? Like nobody lives up there. I'm thinking not in those times anyway, but maybe, who knows?
And modern-day Russia and Eastern Europe. As these three were often detached theatres, each of the next three videos will focus on one direction, starting with the invasion of Europe. In 1235, the Mongol Kurultai decided to send a big army to conquer Europe. 130,000, commanded by the son of Jochi, Batu, headed to the region. By 1237, Volga Bulgaria was conquered. Crimea and the lands of the Kipchaks, Alans and others were next. And by the end of summer of that year, all the lands to the east of the Don River belonged to the Mongols. In November, Batu Khan sent his envoys to the court of Prince Yuri II of Vladimir Suzdal and demanded his allegiance. It is not clear what happened during this embassy, but in February of 1238, the capital of the princedom, Vladimir, was razed by the Mongols.
Kind of makes you wonder, like, what did the Holy Roman Empire and France and Great Britain and all them think about all this going on? Because I'm sure they knew about it. And you guys also got to remember, at this time, we're in the middle of the Reconquista for Spanish trying to, reconquer their peninsula from the Moors. So I'm sure they're thinking, like, gosh dang, everybody wants to just, is this the end? Like, I wonder if that's what they're thinking. Like, I wonder what's going on through their mind.
Vladimir was razed by the Mongols. The chronology of events are open to debate, but we know that in 1238 and 1239 many Rus princedoms were destroyed and their capitals were razed. The Mongols moved fast, dividing and conquering along the way, not allowing the Rus to unite their forces. The biggest open battle of this campaign happened near the river Sit, and the Mongols prevailed. The only major cities to escape destruction were Novgorod and Pskov, as they accepted Mongol authority. By the end of 1239, the Mongols returned beyond the Don.
Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder if the other kingdoms and stuff that knew that what was happening around in Europe had, tried to gather a crusade army or something to try to fight this back. Because obviously, you already know Europe is all about those crusades. Whenever foreign armies try to, start taking over lands and stuff. So that's what I'm thinking. Who knows? So.
Batu had to send some of his forces south to help in the conquest of the Caucasus, while the forces of Möngke were recalled to Mongolia, so the Mongols spent the spring of 1240 recruiting troops from local tribes. In the summer of the same year, the Mongols restarted their offensive. The biggest, most prosperous Rus city, Kiev, was besieged in September. The envoys sent in were killed, and the city fell after a 3-month-long siege. All 50,000 locals were massacred. With the Rus principalities belonging to the Golden Horde, the Mongols now looked towards Central Europe. The Venetians delivered on their deal with Subutai and provided him with valuable information on the kingdoms they were facing, which allowed him to plan a devastating campaign against all of Europe. In December of 1240, the Mongols were ready to pounce on Poland and Hungary. Batu sent several messengers to the High Duke of Poland, Henry II, and the King of Hungary, Bela IV. Both of these envoys were killed. The Mongols invaded Central Europe in 3.
See, how's that word not traveled yet to these different kingdoms, that if you kill these, simple envoys who are trying to essentially kind of come in peace, but not really. Obviously, they want a peaceful way. All you have to do is kneel to them, and they don't have to kill anybody. So obviously, they want a peaceful way to settle this. But if not, then this is what we get. How's that not traveled though? Like, if you do this, your entire kingdom could die. Like, you know what I'm saying? Men, women, and children. That's just crazy.
The Mongols invaded Central Europe in 3 columns. The first group was tasked with distracting Poland, Baidar, Khadan and Orda with 2 Tumans. The second, mainly Batu and Subutai with 3 to 4 Tumans, crossed the Carpathian Mountains through the Vareka Pass, and a third followed the Danube River. In late 1240, the first force advanced against Poland with a remarkable speed of 50 miles per day, sacking Lublin and Sandomierz on the 13th of February 1241. They then split their force. 1 Tumen under Orda moved to central Poland, and another under Baidar and Khadan swept south, defeating a small contingent at the Battle of Tursko in late February 1240. The capital of Poland, Krakow, was abandoned, looted, and then burned.
See, by this time, if I was Poland, or not Poland, but Hungary, I would be... If I was Hungary's people, not obviously the king isn't going to do this because, kings are usually pretty selfish. Sometimes they do care, sometimes they really don't. But in this instance, I feel like, a lot of these kings were pretty selfish to do what they did because they could see what was happening. But if I was a people, though, in Hungary, you'd think it would have been a good idea to just be like, you know what, please, we don't want any slaughter or anything, you know what I'm saying? Here's our king. Please just take him and, you know what I'm saying, we'll be subjects to you. Do you think that would have been able to work? I feel like it probably would have, because it would have showed the Mongols, this isn't our decision, this was his decision, we just want peace. But,
Then the Mongols advanced on the central city of Silesia, Wrocław, which was left undefended by the Polish nobility in the hope of buying more time to assemble an army. While setting up for a siege of the city, Baida and Khadan received reports that a great host was marching towards them, so they turned from Wrocław to intercept the Polish army before it got a chance to unite with the big Bohemian army. The two armies met on April 9th at the field of Legnica. The Polish army, led by Henry II, had around 7,000 to 8,000 troops, most of them from Poland, with contingents from Moravia, Bavaria and the Teutonic Order, while the Mongol force under Baida was slightly less numerous, with around 6,000 troops. The Polish force consisted of heavy cavalry, infantry and peasants, while the Mongol force was made up of the usual horse archers and heavy lancers.
Yeah, see, just the fact that they said peasants right there, those numbers don't matter. I can tell you right now. Peasants going up against nothing but cavalry, like, come on, that's nothing. That's a barrier for them, essentially. So those numbers really don't matter in the grand scheme of things, as I'm sure we're about to see. So
made up of the usual horse archers and heavy lancers. The battlefield was a plain surrounded by small rivers. The centre of the Christian army consisted of 3 lines of cavalry, with infantry on the flanks and a smaller reserve under Henry in the rear. Baida divided his troops into 4 divisions, each with a mix of horse archers and lancers. The first line of the Polish cavalry charged against the Mongol vanguard, but was pushed back after some initial success. Henry then sent the rest of his cavalry forward, and this time, under the pressure, the Mongols began to withdraw. The Allied cavalry gave chase, separating themselves from the infantry. A signal was given by the Mongol commander to set fire to the plants growing on the field. This created a dense smoke and smell, unbearable to the Christian army, and its infantry on the flanks failed to see the battlefield clearly.
these guys are just, morticians, They just know what to do. Because, obviously a lot of different people in battle, they would just charge. They just want to charge and get this battle over with and stuff like that. But, whenever we see generals' plans and stuff actually coming into play, it's a different, it's a different feeling. It's almost like seeing somebody playing chess with checkers, It's just different.
And its infantry on the flanks failed to see the battlefield clearly. In that moment, the Mongol horse archers began firing at the confused riders, disorientated by the smoke. The cavalry was annihilated, and that left only the unarmored peasants on the flanks completely exposed. With no support, the Polish wings were massacred. Henry attempted to flee from the battlefield, but was caught, killed, and beheaded. His severed head was displayed on a pike in front of the town of Legnica, striking fear into the populace.
Yeah, see, at this point, if you're a European kingdom, if you're not gathering every single able-bodied person, if you're not getting that and trying to gather the biggest army ever to protect these lands, just give up. Just give up and yield, because at this point, I'm sure obviously there will be armies that do, but at this point, can a single army do it? I feel like it has to be like allied armies, at this point, because, yeah.
While Baida was busy slaughtering the Polish nobility at Legnica, 600 kilometers to the south, King Bela of Hungary was lining up his armies for battle after 6 days of chasing the main Mongol force under Batu and Subutai in a campaign eerily similar to Khalkha. He ordered a fortified camp of wagons to be constructed near the Sayo River, refusing to take the bait. While the terrain was plain, the river had flooded and could only be crossed via a narrow 200-meter-long bridge. The Mongols had around 15,000 to 20,000 troops and were outnumbered by the 40,000-strong Hungarian army, of which about 15,000 were cavalry. The Hungarians had contingents from Croatia, Austria, and the Order of the Templars. After hearing that the Mongols were crossing the bridge under the Veil of Darkness, the Hungarians moved, marching 7 kilometers in the dark and descending upon the bridge at midnight. The Mongol vanguard was destroyed, as their horse archers were exposed during the night and unprepared for the enemy crossbowmen. The Hungarian army left a small force to guard the bridge as they returned to camp to celebrate, thinking that the invaders had been repulsed. On the morning of April 11th, 1241, Subutai sent a force north to cross through a shallow.
And so even there, you know how many military or how many soldiers they have over there. You saw it before the sunset. Why would you think that killing just a small little piece of that would be enough? Especially knowing what they've already done, what they're capable of, and all that stuff, and knowing that whenever you do something like that, they usually want revenge. It's just, obviously, hindsight 2020, and I need to shut up, but still, it's just one of those things. It's like, wow, why would you do that? Because obviously they're about to get.
Invaders had been repulsed. On the morning of April 11th, 1241, Subutai sent a force north to cross through a shallow spot in the river, while he was making his way south via a makeshift bridge. Meanwhile, Batu ordered 7 heavy catapults to bombard and distract the crossbowmen guarding the bridge. After stalling for a while, the northern troops descended upon the bridge guards from the rear and routed them. At the Hungarian camp, a great argument broke out as the king was blamed for not preparing his force for another engagement. This gave time for the Mongols to cross the river. Still, the Hungarians were once again gaining the upper hand as Batu failed to organize his troops in a proper formation. As the Mongols were being pushed against the river with nowhere to run, Subutai miraculously joined the engagement and attacked the Hungarians from the rear. Subutai then rallied the troops, who had seen heavy casualties, and ordered them to surround the Hungarian camp, to which Bela had retreated. Their mangonels bombarded the camp with stones, while archers shot flaming arrows. The Hungarians attempted to break the encirclement on 3 occasions, but were repelled each time.
Yeah, that was a scary moment, because just thinking about, you have these big ass boulders coming out onto you. There's no really where to run. You have a whole bunch of flaming hot freaking arrows coming at you, and then you have arch or freaking cavalry on all sides. Like, just give up. There's no, don't kill the rest of you. I mean, your men are already dead because they fought back, but still, I don't know. Just one of those things.
Once again, the Mongols left a gap, giving Hungarian troops hope of escape. Most of the defenders fled for their lives, only to be chased down by more archers lying in ambush. This trick meant that the Mongols would be killing the enemy while they were running instead of fighting for their lives, which allowed them to avoid extra casualties. The Hungarian army ceased to exist. Bela made it to safety, but the entire population of Hungary was left at the mercy of Subutai's troops. In the span of 2 days, the strongest kingdoms of Central Europe were defeated. With free reign over Hungary, the Mongols did what they did best, ravaged the countryside, starting with pest. More than half of the settlements in the plains of Hungary were destroyed. It is said that Hungary lost around 500,000 of its population. The Mongols then invaded Serbia and Bulgaria. These lands were ravaged, and Bulgaria was forced to become a tributary to the Mongols for several decades. As the situation was only getting direr, the Pope called for an anti-Mongol crusade. Meanwhile, the Holy Roman Emperor began to levy his troops and organize a defense. The Mongols were planning to reach the Atlantic Ocean, and there was no army strong enough to stand.
Okay, so that makes sense. It's kind of crazy though. They really are lucky that they were able to, I guess, stop the Mongols when they. Not really, because obviously they still have to deal with, I think, the Golden Horde later years and stuff like that. Because obviously the empire breaks off and stuff, but. You know what I'm saying? They're just lucky that they didn't have, the Ottomans coming from the southeast, the Mongols from the northeast, and the Moors from the southwest. You know what I'm saying? That just sounds like, an invasion of, crazy proportions. But yeah, keep going.
The Mongols were planning to reach the Atlantic Ocean, and there was no army strong enough to stand in their way. However, this was not to occur. The great Khan Ogedei passed away in December of 1241, and Batu, along with most of his troops, had to return to Mongolia to participate in the elections of the next leader of the Mongol Empire. Europe was saved. While creating this documentary,
that's the end of that though, guys. But yeah, definitely crazy. Definitely gotta get more into this. Don't forget to thank you guys for joining me on another episode of Mike's Intellectual Corner. Don't forget to join me on another one. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys on another one. I'm out. Peace.